to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. Present. Mudge. Present. Karen. Oh, yeah.
Twice, you know, last time you didn't put a hat on this time, I got it. Yesterday. Just of course the updates, from the commission, for those who didn't know, District 3 Commissioner, resigned, so that position is open through 4:30 tomorrow. Anyone interested who lives in one of those 5 townships sends the information, to the county. There's a meeting at 4:30 tomorrow to open and review those. The administrator position closed as of March 31st, but because we've got the vacancy on the commission, we're going to fill that first and then cycle back to the administrator position. Of course, always the other big event is the lakes. Hearing from people, Smallwood is not being forgotten. I respect that person's opinion. Get an email saying, you know, it seems to be a lot of focus on Wixom because that's the big problem. It doesn't mean that Smallwood doesn't matter. It does. All the lakes and all the process, they're all important. Direct anyone to the Four Lakes website through the months of April and May. They're going to have a lot of informational meetings, rain and flood studies, updated costs and estimates, instrumentation of lakes, streams, and tributaries, environmental and regulatory considerations, financial modeling with survey results. That's going to be an important one. That's May 13th. They took the time to do that survey. And, you know, I've been saying that when you do a survey, you listen for the results and see what's there. And then May 25th is a meeting with the Gladwin County Commissioners. So, again, those are links to those. Which one?
You just said May.
Financial modeling is May 13th.
So I thought it was.
So May 13th is the financial modeling, and then you have a decision on May 15th?
No, not a decision, a meeting. The meeting on May 25th is a meeting with Midland and Gladwin County Commissioners. This joint meeting will focus on the path forward and include a review of financial models and a discussion about affordability for property owners.
And that will be an open meeting with public present, or is that webinar?
That's a Four Lakes meeting, so that decision will be theirs.
Yeah, I think from the public perspective, it would be nice to have an open meeting.
I can't say.
If Hays Township can have an open meeting, I don't understand. If Hays Township can have an open meeting, why can't we have an open meeting for Four Lakes Task Force, I guess is my question.
Well,
you know, because at least that way the public has some opportunity rather than the constant muting and censorship that they're exhibiting right now.
well, anyway, those are the Four Lakes meetings. And my position as far as the county will be, and again, I always say I'm only one vote, I'm one person there. But once we get this data and once we get this information, that we as a county have an informational meeting for our citizens. And I'm expecting if we have that, it's a big turnout. Unfortunately, it's getting warm. Hopefully, it's not raining, and it likely will be outside somewhere. But I do believe we need to have an open forum where all opinions can be expressed. So that's what I'll be looking for after we get this informational stuff from them. So that's my update.
Are you part of the county commissioners?
I'm the chair of the Gladwin County Commission. Yes. I'm their commissioner.
She's your commissioner.
I don't live in your township. I live in another, but I represent the township.
Okay.
I have a few more questions. Regarding my biggest concern also is the transparency of what the specifics are. They're not documented on the Four Lakes Task Force pages as to how this special assessment will transpire in terms of a first lien and what the amounts will be. Those need to be very transparent. Everybody's under the impression that it's going to be maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000. And if I sell, I'm just going to transfer it over to the buyer. And we have to be honest. That is not true. It's up to the buyer to take that over if they desire to do so. But what buyer is going to take over a $100,000 lien? And how is, this is the part that's not transparent, and it's not documented, it's not said, and everybody's totally confused as to what the methodology is going to be. And
Which, again, will come out in these discussions, and I've been very clear that until we have data, I'm a data-driven person.
I'm just concerned that the timing is going to be such that there's only going to be a few days to react. The people, if there is a concern, there isn't enough time for people to get their legs underneath them to actually voice their opinion against it. Why isn't this information? This is not secret, but people are just not aware of it because it's not posted. And it's just going around by word of mouth, and it gets twisted every which way. You know it as well as I do, right? So let's be clear and honest of what it is that we're doing. Don't you agree?
I am very much about transparency, which is why I'm saying I'm not voting until I see data, and that's just the position I will continue to take.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. As far as the SAD, since we're discussing the SAD, Special Assessment District, how do you break down a special assessment district that was voted on where it would have cost me initially $7,000 over 20 years, which now, according to Four Lakes Task Force own page, is going to cost me anywhere from $80,000 to $120,000 for the same benefit that I was going to receive in 2019 when Judge Karras ruled on it. And at that time, all the lakes were all expected to pay the exact same amount, all the homeowners, based on a frontage or back lot. And now we are being told that certain lakes are going to be one price and other lakes are going to be another price. And I'm just curious how the methodology was used if you're going to say benefit, because when the lake comes back, a benefit is a benefit. So if you put a $400 charge on Smallwood and you put a $1,200 charge on Wixom, you've just depreciated the cost of housing on one lake versus the same house on a different lake within the same county. And I don't understand how that methodology works, for one. And as far as the survey goes, I have a Facebook group and I welcome anybody to join it. I'd like for people to join it. The survey, I don't know how this group was picked to do the survey. It's located in Lansing, but the president of this survey company that did it, PSC, is related to somebody that lives on Sanford Lake, which is a small world in my opinion. And that person's in-laws worked for Dow Chemical. And I see a big conflict of interest here. And when they mailed out the surveys, they mailed them out junk mail rate. And out of the 1,200 people in my group, a big majority of them never received a survey. So I had to go in and give them a link on how to find a survey online because the person that we tried to contact was not always accessible. I mailed my survey in registered mail because, one, I didn't trust them. It didn't get delivered. So I had to spend a lot of time running around in circles, getting close to the survey date. And I found out from Lansing that PSC closed their doors to any mail. They did not allow mail to be delivered to their building. Even though they gave you a number and an address to the building, they come in and they pick their mail up in person. And it's sporadic. You never knew when they were going to pick it up or not. So somehow, my mail got lost. However, I was diligent enough that I was able to do it online. And I made sure, and I recorded him when I called him to make sure that he did have my survey. And I will provide a copy of my survey to my county commissioners individually, because I hate to say this, you're my commissioner. I've yet to receive a response to the emails that I send to you and my other commissioners. I recently sent you an email asking about that position that's opened up for Friday, and I got no response. However, other members in my group were BCC'd on that email. So they asked me, inquired, did I get a response? And I said, no, I did not. They were upset. So then they mailed you personally, and they got a response, and they shared it with me. And most of it was referred to 4 Lakes Task Force. Well, I'm reading all the bylaws, and I can see where 4 Lakes Task Force and our commissioners have actually written into the contract that they are not going to be held responsible. You have legally made yourselves immune to anything that goes wrong with this owning of the dams or the special assessment district. All of it's going to fall on the SAD. I don't understand how a government entity can be immune from making a decision that's going to possibly cost me the complete price of my home. And I never had a vote, and I never had a say. So when you do get the survey, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't trust it, because I've got that young man on phone call recorded, and he knows it, and I've shared it because he gave me permission to share it. I just can't put it on a public entity like Facebook, but I can share it individually and tell people not to share it. People ask him the same questions I asked, and they got different responses. Now you want this guy for $65,000 is what PSC was paid to do this survey. And you want me, and I'm only speaking for myself, to think that we're going to get a fair survey? I don't think so. And I've tried to get with my commissioners to discuss it with you. I recently put in for a FOIA request, different subject matter now, for the emergency action plan.
Chair, I'm not hearing any questions. Is this appropriate?
We can.
I mean, it seems like public comment, which I'd be glad to listen to, but it's not, I'm not hearing any questions that I can.
Well, no, I think we can draw that.
Again, it's public comment, which I respect, but I'd be glad to answer questions, but I'm not hearing.
All right, no, I think you can leave it if you want.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Your name?
Can anyone else ask questions, or was that it?
When we go to our public comment, you got 2
I
minutes.
was hoping to ask Karen a question.
Well, she's available, send her an email.
I mean, I'll answer questions, and again, I have no problem with public comment, but I wasn't hearing any.
Well, I still want to know if that could be split. I didn't get an answer for that. They can be
You
split.
didn't stop talking, Kelly.
I find that very rude, Karen. I'm asking you now if you want to answer it. How do you figure to split it into 4 separate special assessment districts when it was ruled on as 1 special assessment district by Judge Karras?
That would be something to ask the Midland County Court. I didn't make that decision.
You are the one that now owns the dam, so it is up to you. It's not up to the court.
It's up, it was determined.
You're the one that's going to vote on it.
The district was established through a 2019 court, so any discussion there would go through.
Are you aware Judge Karras is the grandson of Dow, of Aldemey Dow?
I'm aware Judge Karras is a.
Are you aware that he sits on the Midland Center of the Arts? Are you aware that there's large donations that go to the Midland Center of the Arts? Are you aware that you also give donations to the Midland Center of the Arts?
It's more like conspiracy, which I don't.
No, that's not a conspiracy. That's a question. And I think that people in this room right here, they're probably a little concerned about who's in charge of putting a huge lien and tax on our homes.
You'll have a chance to discuss the lien. Okay?
Here or in court. I'm just trying to, the people that are going to vote on it, which is my commissioner who does not answer my emails. So I'm here right now so I could actually talk to my commissioner about a situation that affects everybody in this district.
Well, you can go down to the county meetings and raise all the.
I can't. I'm not allowed in the building.
Why is that?
Ask her, not me.
Are you down to the 25?
Do what?
Or do you have a statement?
The issue with the 25, and just so I didn't even count it here, because it's not my issue, but the issue with the 25, if you get over 25, you have to have an overflow room in your building with 2-way communication. Gladwin County isn't set up for that. So if we opened our office, if we opened our building right now, and this changed, so on our second meeting in April, we will be open, but had we have opened and had 26 people show up, we actually would have to shut our meeting down.
Right.
And so we weren't prepared to do that because we need to proceed. So
Okay.
now that ruling has changed, which happened after our last meeting, we're going to announce on Tuesday that the second meeting in April will be open.
Okay, thank you.
But they are two-way communications through the GoToMeeting right now.
Okay, thank you.
The second week in April? Is that what,
Second meeting,
Second meeting.
whatever date.
is it possible that Friday's meeting could be open to the public?
It was already determined to be a GoToMeeting.
What if somebody shows up to the meeting and there's less than 25 people in the room?
It's a closed meeting.
How is it closed if it's a public meeting?
It's a public meeting, and it's a GoToMeeting. It's because we have chosen to use the GoToMeeting.
You're a lawyer. There is an MCL law for the Open Meetings Act, and you have to adhere to it, just like these guys are adhering to it.
Okay, we're terminated. Thank you.
Did you get your question asked?
No, I don't think it would be worth the time.
Yes, we don't have any, first public comment, section. Anyone would like to speak? Yep, sure. State your name.
Okay, get your name.
No problem.
I was speaking to a lawyer today.
Yeah, state your name.
Oh, Hugh Woodrow.
Okay, you got 2 minutes.
I was speaking to a lawyer today. He says Four Lakes has got a lot of power. And right now they're going after Michigan for half the cost to replace the dams. $1 billion to replace the dams. They're going for $500. $2,000 per SAD person, which they have 6,000 for 40 years, gets it close to paying off $500,000 is what they're working on right now. Just wanted to say that it's a mess. They gave them a lot of power. All of them in Four Lakes that are running Four Lakes are from Dow. And he's working on mitigation right now to get recovery monies for people that had damage.
Right.
I just say, it just seems like they gave 4 or 5 people a lot of power to take money out of people's pockets. And it's like she says, there's people on that lake. By the time they get finished paying that, it'll be more than the house is worth. Just saying. You have a statement for me, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we're on a river. We're in a rural area on a river, so, we have nothing to do with the lake. It's 15 miles away. It's 15 miles away. And we're supposed to have total access to the lake, which is some fields, weeds, shallows. It's not accessible. People cross the street from the lake. They're gonna get charged like $25 for administration. We're getting $200. I'm just saying, if any of you folks have anything to do with the commissioners or want to put a word in for people who are in this township, we're a rural area, and a lot of people, like I got acreage, and a lot of people in my association, they have a lot of footage next to the river. It's also all easement down to the river. Nobody has water easement or water access directly. I'm just throwing that out there.
Thank you.
Kelly Bax.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah, my question, I know you sit on the Four Lakes Task Force Board, and you sit both on the financial and the governance committees. So maybe you can answer my question as to how do you take a 1 SAD and turn it into 4 SADs with different numbers, not based on a value of property, and call it a benefit, and without a vote or a say from the people? And I'm going to ask you this because you're on the financial part of it. On my deed, I did not sign to buy dams. My deed says exactly what I own on my property. It does not say that I have to pay for anything other than what is on my property. And a special assessment for weed control and that goes through the county through a vote, and you have a say, and it's based on frontage of your property. So that's how it's determined, and if you have more than one property, they don't necessarily assess you more than once. So how, as the financial committee, how can you say that a court order can now be changed without going back to court for one, and now it's just assumed it's for SADs? And I'll ask you, how do you immune yourself? Because the county was going to hire an attorney for $5,000 in 2020 because they didn't trust the finances that Four Lakes Task Force was putting out. And I'm not just talking off the top of my head. I have black and white proof for this. I don't say anything that I can't back up. But they didn't go through with it, and I don't know why. But there was a pause in that. So now these same individuals are going to make a decision on my property without my say-so. And we were never notified. Did you get a notification mailed to you about the special assessment district and how you could protest it and appeal it and the dates that you had to do it within?
I was there at the courtroom.
Did you receive a letter mailed to your house to tell you how to process it and how to protest it and appeal?
No, I was there. I gave it my letter.
Yep.
It meant nothing.
But there's laws, and they're being stomped all over, folks.
SAD's okay.
They're being stomped all over, and we're being ignored. And I get blocked out of buildings, out of my own public buildings, and I'm tired of it. I'm standing up, and I'm saying, you're not going to just take my property without a say. And I'm a nice lady, but don't take niceness as gullible. I've been lied to from Four Lakes Task Force. They want $6,484.20 for a FOIA request from me. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's written right in the dockets that the special assessment district, once it's put on the tax roll, everything that's been spent that they will not show us their expenditures for becomes our responsibility. That's nuts. That's like handing your baby a credit card, your 10-year-old kid, and saying, go into the toy store. We'll talk about it when the bill comes. I want to talk about this stuff before the bills come. I want to see what I'm expected to pay for. And Four Lakes Task Force, you're aware, was overseeing those operations when those dams failed. They were in charge of the oversight. No?
Oversight, we were in the process of acquiring the dams.
No. Oversight states in your own Facebook or your own website page that after January of 2020, Four Lakes operation was overseeing the operations of those dams. Well, I'm going to tell you what, that's what it says on your Facebook page or on your web page.
I'll give you my emails.
Well, look on your own web page, because I'm sure now that I've told you it'll disappear, but I've already downloaded it, so I'm good. But anyways, they were overseeing the operations, and anybody here that lives close to the dams, those dams were not opened ahead of time. The water level was up, and I have a text message in my phone right here that somebody shared with me where an emergency person on the team sent them a text on Tuesday, the 19th, when the dams failed, and said, if you get another message to leave, get out, because they're looking to cut the dam. They're going to cut a breach in the dam in Edenville, where the dam just happened to fail. So I talked to the emergency manager, and she said, yes, that was the case. They were going to cut a breach in the dam. Now, whether they did or not, I don't know, but she said it failed before they had a chance to. And my next question to her was, then why wasn't Sanford Dam breached before Wixom Dam was breached to prepare for it, so that all those people didn't lose their homes and their properties? And I got a lot of nasty remarks from her, a lot of nasty ones, and I recorded it, and I played it for people, but I didn't play her portion of it. I had to sit and write down everything that she said. Those are my audio notes.
Okay, 2 minutes stuff. Anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to just talk about the fact that they say that, the properties all along Wixom Lake are assessed the same because they get the same benefit. And I'd really like to dispute that fact. If I have a $500,000 house that's on Wixom Lake, and I've got all this frontage and it's beautiful, yeah, that's a great benefit. If I've got a $50,000 home on Wixom Lake, yeah, that's a great benefit too, but it's not the same benefit. I've got a $100,000 house way up the river towards the Smallwood Dam. There is no way that that guy has the same benefit as the $500,000 house on the lake. And when he gets assessed $100,000, that property is worth negative value. He's going to have to pay somebody to take that off his hands. It's ridiculous. There's just no way that those are the same benefit. In fact, you pay for that benefit up front. You're buying a waterfront property. So why am I having to pay for it again? And then if I have an assessment of $100,000, yeah, when I've got a $500,000 house, that $100,000 is probably going to restore my value. But when I've got a $50,000 or even a $200,000 home, there's no way I'm getting back $100,000 on that. So there's not the same benefit again. Lastly, I'd still love to get some straight answers on a couple of things that it doesn't matter where I look, I can't find documented evidence like the first lien. Is this the first lien? Can I still get a mortgage without that being taken into account? And then each lake can be its own decision, so you can say yes to Smallwood and no to Wixom or no to Sanford or yes, whichever. I hear yes and then I hear no, so I don't really know. And then lake bottoms. Don't go on the lake bottoms. Oh, it's okay to go on the lake bottoms. There's big signs that say don't go on the lake bottoms. But then I hear go on the lake bottoms. And then I hear don't touch the stumps. But then I see people with their quads out there with their yellow vests and they're cutting down stumps. And they're just leaving them there. They're not even taking them away. So what is it? But I can't find answers and nobody will give you a documented answer.
Well, I can give you some. Okay, give me your email and I'll send you.
Well,
that's great, but I'm not the only one who wants to know.
There is some webinars that Dave Kepler put out, and he actually states that if your house is worth $300,000 or less, you might as well just sell it short or walk away. That was Dave Kepler's words specifically.
But
not just one meeting.
Documentation, what you can do, can't do. I have the Eagle
Or a lot of lawsuits.
letter that explains what you can do and stuff. So if you like to have that, I'll be happy to send.
And that's great for me.
Yeah.
But I have people who ask me, and then they ask where I know that from. And just to say, oh yeah, I got an email once, that doesn't, I think that should be the kind of information that's publicly available easily.
Yeah. All you have to do is go to the state of Michigan. You can get your own little copy.
The state of Michigan to get
Yeah.
To get what?
On Tuesday, what you can do on the lake bottoms.
Okay, and how's that
I'll
gonna?
send you the time, I'll send it.
And what about first lien?
First lane, probably public act 206 of 1893 is might be where you might want to find it.
Is it 206 or is this under the 307 legal lake level special assessment district?
So, I don't know. I would take a look at 206.
So we can use, I just want to get this straight. So we can use other MCLs for special assessment districting outside of SAD? Well, I'm just,
Okay.
but you said look at the 206. So I'll look at the 206. I'm curious.
206 is nice.
Okay. One question about Four Lakes Task Force. I'm interested in a volunteering job. How much does that pay?
Probably 0 is what we get.
Well, and I ask this because if I look on what you're looking for, you want attorneys, you want CPLs, you want accountants, you want to do FOIA requests. So seriously, I can't see where you guys are going to get that kind of help. The only thing that I think you might get is maybe the lawn mowing for free. I don't see where most of these people are going to. So if it's free, what I want to know is if it's free, why do you have to put on your resume to be a volunteer? Why do you have to be selected? Can't anybody then just be a volunteer?
Why don't you go ahead and send that to the 4 Lakes Task Force and ask your question?
Because I've been told by the attorney from Clark Hill,
Yeah.
Mr. Colian,
Yeah.
not to contact them anymore.
Okay. That's
They're allowed to be nasty to me, but I'm not allowed to ask questions. So that's why I'm asking questions to you, sir. You're on both the finance and the governance committees. Well, you can walk away.
Nope. I have one thing, yeah, I'd like to ask. I'd like to know, like, who really owns the dams?
The counties will own the dams.
Will, or do they own them?
I don't know, I haven't seen all the legal papers that were done. As far as my knowledge is the counties own the dams.
Right, so they're making the decisions for, you
They
know,
have a delegated authority for like task force.
so the delegate,
Running,
right, so the delegated authority has the same responsibilities for open meetings, like, they're making all kinds of decisions right now about the dams, the engineering part of it and everything else, right? But none of these meetings are available to the public, right? So if they're a government body, like if this was anything else, like if they were, you know, or whatever else, or Eagle, or the DNR, or whoever else, they actually have public access to their meetings. If somebody requests it, you can attend their meetings. None of that is available from 4 Lakes Task Force. If they're serving as a government entity, as being your delegated authority, I'd like to attend some of those meetings that are based on the engineering part of it and everything else. So I'm aware. Is that a possibility?
I don't,
I'd like you know, our commissioner to answer to that as well. You know, in terms of as a public servant, I can remember Karen being here asking for our votes back in December, you know, before the election, and even earlier than that. And she stood up there and told us, I voted for her. And you know, I'm very disappointed with you know, how she's treating the people who voted her in. And I'm honestly, I'm very disappointed because the 4 Lakes Task Force has got an ability, an affinity to be totally non-disclosure. And it shouldn't be. They're representing a government body for the people. And they're expecting to get the money from us.
yeah.
And they're using taxpayer
The
money.
website has a lot of information on it.
Speaking of that, I was blocked on their Facebook page, and it's even in an email confirmation to my commissioners that the 4 Lakes Task Force has blocked me. So since they're a government entity, how can they do that legally? I'm curious. How do you just, why do I need to get an attorney? I'm paying for one. I got a prosecuting attorney right in Midland, or in Gladwin, and I also got one in Midland. But I can't, because they're all beholding to the big corporations right now. And I mean, if it's not aware, I'm not real happy with the way that we get treated, because you all want what you want, but you want to do it with our collateral and not a voter's say. And you're doing the same thing that Dave and all the rest of them do. You blow me off. If I was on a computer right now, I know you would just mute me.
It's not just 4 Lakes. It's really
Well, but he asked the question, who owns the dams? I was recently kicked off the property. I was told by Dave Rothman, it is private property, and my governor, my commissioner, Representative Wentworth, Representative Glenn, were there. Were present at this meeting, and it was told that they were there to talk to the public. And they had Mr. and Mrs. Miner, who Mr. Miner works for Dow, and his wife used to work for Dow, now she works for DuPont. They got to go down there and they got to talk to the commissioner and to the governor and to the representatives. I got pushed off the property. They called the state police, and they sent the MDOT people out to babysit us, which I find, it's just humiliating to treat adults like this. And now you're just going to excuse me too, because everybody just does this.
Well, here's the year. You should have all the access that you want.
It's a county property that I'm going to have to pay for.
There could be reasons why they don't want you.
They had how many people on the facility? All these other people got to go to it, and it was put in the paper that it was going to be a public meeting, and then it was decided to be private at the last minute. because anybody that came there, if they don't like talking, they make it a private meeting. And we closed down our county buildings at our own discretion because we have less than 25 people in there. Bob Hontoon showed up there at a meeting where I was stuck out in the parking lot. Bob Hontoon was told to leave the building.
Well, that doesn't apply to us.
No, but my commissioner's sitting in here and she can hear me saying it, so I'm okay with saying it, since this is the public portion.
Well, public comments are done.
Yeah, I got one. Yeah, but let me do something important. I hear all this, it's a big problem. Who's gonna pay for it? It's a big problem. I heard that the DNR, for years, has not wanted these. What would happen if they,
I'm on the same page as you.
what would happen if they did the water back?
Let's leave it as
I'm
it is.
just curious.
For me,
Yeah, what,
it's better because I didn't sign on. When I bought my place, I bought what I could afford and what I could keep and what I could add to as I retire. Because I'm on a fixed income now. So now all these decisions are being made without me
but
having a say.
I don't hear a lot of people pushing for that. I know it's gonna hurt our county.
Nobody knows anything. There's only a few people that are in the know on all this.
They don't know about it.
it. There's hardly any communication. Most people don't even know there's a SAD.
Let me ask you, if the Four Lakes Task Force, do they have to put water back?
No.
What would happen if there was an outcry and everybody just said, all right, this is gonna cost too much, let the water run into the dams?
What's gonna happen is if the dam rebuilding is done, is that they would have to be removed. And the cost would be assessed to the special assessment district.
Or we'll do it. I'm a journeyman instrument technician and a journeyman pipe fitter welder. I'll volunteer my time to go tear them dams apart.
That'd be great.
I'll do it.
Yes. Why would they have to take the dams out?
If the staff is not going to pay for the dams, and the cost to the benefits not good, then might be tear out the dam.
What if the lawsuits win? And what if we win our lawsuits and the state is found responsible partially and the owners are found partially responsible? Isn't it up to the people that possibly caused this to happen to be responsible instead of innocent victims?
Yeah, but that person's not, you can't get blood out of the turtle.
The state's got money.
That's my question. Why isn't somebody?
They settled.
He isolated himself, he's isolated himself to the businesses that he owns or whatever. You're probably not gonna be able to touch this. He's probably got lots of money.
Well, Dow Chemical needs the dams. I'm gonna tell you that much. And I'll tell you why. Right now, the EPA is gonna be all over Dow Chemical. And they needed a dilution. Well, what was May 19, 2020, but the biggest dilution that you could have had go down through there? Wasn't that convenient? But in the meantime, they gotta have 30 million gallons of water a day to offset their process. They were losing upwards of $1 million a day after the dams failed. They need to have that. They have to have the flow of the river because they have to have so much water. And right now they're bringing it in from Lake Huron. And if you know what they're putting into that river, if you know what they're testing for, Dow got penalized not too long ago for actually testing samples against the state.
You talk to people that work now, and that worked there for years or whatever, there's a growing number of people saying in a few years, Dow will not be there.
I used to work at Dow Corning. I'm very aware.
They're gonna move their.
Dow Chemical makes a lot of bad decisions, and that's probably why Dow Chemical's not going to be there much longer, in my opinion.
They're not gonna need water, so
But they can't walk away and leave the mess. They're always going to be responsible for the chemical mess that they left behind. So right now they're paying $77 million for the water that's going downstream in the Tittabawassee and out into Lake Huron. And the Indians got paid money and got given land. And in 2018, the Indians were actually in the process of purchasing the hydropower from Lee Mueller because FERC was pulling the license. And Lee Mueller, smart guy, as crooked as he was, whatever, he was a businessman, he knew if he got the Indians involved, that the feds would leave him alone. Well, about the time that the Indians got involved, that's when Four Lakes Task Force, look at him smile, that's when Four Lakes Task Force all of a sudden came into fruition. And then the Indians just disappeared. And then Dow Chemical gave a lot of money to those Indians.
well, if they don't, Dow needs don't need the water, and the people don't wanna pay to have the water, let the water return to the way it was.
I'm good with that.
Is the biggest part of this, Steve, I think.
But I can't make a decision for other people.
Which I think you're hitting on is, we're only considering the special assessment district, right? This is the last option that we should be considering, and this is the only talking point that we're doing right now. Why are we talking? We're talking about villages for the veterans and all this other stuff that we have to make sure we get the villages in time to get, for the election and all that stuff. Why are we talking about getting a village in for rebuilding the dam so that we can spread the cost out through Midland and Gladwin County? There's a direct benefit, and it would be $110 per household or per property to spread it around, and that way everybody has a benefit to be gained from that, and it's a small amount. You're not burdening the property owners.
You're wrecking the value of the property along the river. It's wrecking the value. It's all the subject assessment that goes on forever. I agree with you, and I agree to spread it all over. But if it's gonna be this much trouble, I just wonder if maybe just forget it.
I agree with you, and I'm on the same page. As a second option, that would be, if we can't do it with the millage where we can spread it around and make it affordable without destroying the property values, then just leave it as a river, And stop talking about special assessment. Everybody, that's all they talk about is special assessment, and that's not the right thing. That should be the last thing we're considering. And this is the problem, it's a finger pointing contest. You ask about, the Four Lakes Task Force about doing a village, they point us back to the commissioners. We go to the commissioners, why are we doing a village? Oh no, go back to the Four Lakes Task Force and ask them about our special assessment.
It's like a giant.
So there is a finger pointing contest back and forth between the commissioners, because the commissioners don't want to be involved to do anything at all.
There's a word that we like to use. It's called gentrification. The definition, it's a noun. The process whereby the character of a poor urban area is changed by wealthier people moving in, improving housing and attracting new businesses, typically displacing current inhabitants in the process. Why does it happen though? Why are people allowed to take your home through a tax?
Europeans came and the Indians left, so it started with that. So
That's not. Well, these guys are both Europeans, so they're probably going to take offense to that statement.
that's all I. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We started March in the general fund with $197,445.83. We had deposits in of $24,468.77. We transferred in funds from solid waste, $14,212.80. Interest of $1.83. Made payments of $27,233.27, leaving us with an ending balance of $208,895.96. The funds that went into the general account were rounded numbers. You're tracking detailed numbers here. $19,700 from December sales tax, $211 from mooring bridge, $4,467 from tax payout, 2019 personal property tax, and $45 from local park fee. In our other restricted accounts, basically, what was added in was the last payout from the tax account, so all that is reflected in the tax account, plus the interest. And unless you have any questions on that, I won't read all the detail on that. Thank you.
Hey, just folks, so I all know I got both my shots, and I had COVID back in November, so you're as safe as you can possibly be. You're 6 feet away, so. Anyway, council report for the last month, B&B and River Ells were both checked and found to be in compliance with LCC rules. There were 3 new complaints. Repeat customer on South Whitney Road. I've given him notice and the May 1st deadline to get his place cleaned up. South Whitney Beach Road. It's a funny situation. The last administration made an arrangement. If he built his fence and kept his gate closed, he was okay. So we've had a talk about that. And as far as cleaning up alongside the driveway as well. So another one on Elm Street. Septic tank question and some miscellaneous junk on his property, and he's living in a travel trailer on his sister's property, but he's using the existing septic system at the house to dispose of his waste and the stuff that he cleaned up. Follow up on a few old complaints. The one on M61, the old motel, apartment burned. I did make contact with the owner on that. And he's got some medical issues, but hopefully that'll get done within 30 days. South Whitney Beach Road, another junk complaint from last year. There's a lot of vehicles on the property, and I think all of them are gone. And another complaint across from the other place with the gate. That property has been cleaned up and looks pretty good. So that's all I have. Any questions?
Brewster's ever going to get their liquor license, or do you know anything about that? Brewster's Corner? It used to be, oh, that's wrong side of the road, sorry.
Yeah, I've heard varying accounts on that. The owner had mentioned that he was having a lot of trouble because of COVID and such. And I've heard other things regarding the owner with some other more personal issues that came up, so I don't know what's true, but as far as I know, they don't have one yet.
Right.
I've got a question.
Okay.
How many wells do you still have issues with in this
I
township?
don't know, but we don't have
I was just
well and
curious.
septic ordinance here, so we would have no idea.
I just wondered how many people were still without water. We still got some, but we just lost our level in Tobacco River. They took it down another 20 feet, so.
Yeah, I know it's a big issue.
Oh yeah, and now it's our responsibility. Because the state and the county sent a letter to the newspaper and they disavowed themselves from any responsibility after I brought it up in the EGLE meeting that they were going to take down the dam. And I asked what was going to happen to our wells. And they said, well, if it goes dry, tough.
I would contact, Bob North.
Well, he'll say FEMA, and FEMA won't cover if it's your second home. So and they're going to say this isn't a direct result from the flood. And same with the insurance companies. The insurance companies didn't pay claims to homeowners because they said it was a man-made disaster. Even though I didn't make any of the water. So I don't know how they can. I'm sad for the people that are without homes, and I have a few of those in my group, and they don't have water, and they're sharing a hose between houses. So I was just kind of curious up in this area how many more people.
I don't know right off the top of my head. We don't, like I said, we don't have a well and septic.
I would love to see a fundraiser for that. Some of them are veterans.
There you go. There's your new project.
Oh, Four Lakes Task Force has got a lot of volunteers, and they got over $50 million. So.
Page, I'll give you $10.
What's that?
So if you start GoFundMe page for well and septic or whatever wells, I'll donate $10.
I would rather not do it through a GoFundMe because they get a percentage of it, 10%. Let's do it just straight.
Okay. You started
So
off.
are you saying that Hays Township doesn't have well or septic ordinances?
Correct.
The county,
The county has that.
Hays Township doesn't, the county.
Like Secor Township does have one where if you want to sail, where you have to make sure you're up to current standards as far as health department. We don't have one here. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Slow it back on your question.
Tower six?
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
We got one question to ask you.
Oh, don't leave.
Oh,
Yes.
I think I talked to you about this quite some time ago, but it's we're going ahead with the recreational, board heads or sliders in. And, would you still be interested in respecting the application?
Sure.
For pay, of course.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, just let me know, stop it sometime. Give me any more information.
Yeah, it'll be another couple months or so probably before I get it all hammered out, but.
All right.
In the meantime,
They're
I guess
all
there's
hot
some
out
kind of
here.
research on the
Riverbank.
internet as far as how often you should do it or what you should look for, check that out.
Don't be fouled out much.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, thank you.
Of the unfinished business, we have a four-lease update. And I want to piggyback on what Karen was saying. If you go to the Four Lakes Task Force website, go to About, and then it goes to the meetings, and you can sign up for the webinars that are coming up. So Tuesday, 4/13, rain and flood studies. These were pretty important because they dictate some of the downfall of the water. So that might be of interest. Monday, 4/19, updated costs and estimated assessments. I think this would be a good one to go to or listen to. Because we have a lot of the engineering done now where we can give a little more detail or insight on how much it's going to cost. You know, it's not absolute, but it'll give you a general idea.
Well, Can I, just before you get too far, with it being an engineering situation, and we talked about leaving the water as it is, why, did they ever think about putting in just a weir dam, like you got up in Wiggins and you got in Pratt Lake, where you don't have to have instrumentation to know what the flow is, because it is just what it is. Whatever your weir is set for is the level of the lake.
I don't know.
Doesn't that seem, that'd be a lot cheaper? $1 billion, $1 billion, that's a B. We throw trillions and billions around like they're $10 bills nowadays.
From a lawyer I talked to today.
I was listening to this gentleman when I came in.
Which lawyer? Is he one of the Four Lakes lawyers?
He is, in charge of getting reparations for people who had damage.
That's separate. That's a different issue. That's not the dam issue.
Yeah, but he's very up on what's going on, what's charged, what the Four Lakes people are doing right now. And who they are,
If
and
he
what they're
gave you
doing.
that number, he's not even close to the numbers.
Wixom is just under $250 million.
$250 million. Oh,
What I think, I think this was.
Originally it was 228, but I think there's going to
plus or minus 30 plus 50% written in. Best case scenario.
Yeah.
That best base case.
go to the Monday meeting, and I think it's going to go down.
I hope so.
We all pray for that one.
I don't do this.
He walked around in the dark.
I don't do this to do a rain dance, but the only issue that I have is once the SAD gets put on the tax roll, it's open-ended. It never has to go back to court,
And it's not a tax.
and it's not a tax. You don't get to write it off,
No, it's not a tax.
but it is a tax. It's called a lien,
Well, no.
and it's a special assessment.
It's not a tax.
Right, but assessments, if, I know you threw out the 206, but there's other MCLs
Yes.
where you have to vote,
It's gonna come on your tax.
and it has to have a feasibility study to see who all benefits from the lakes.
Sure.
Well, it was not done. The feasibility study still hasn't been done. It's not gonna be out until the end of May sometime. So you set the SAD in 2019 and the feasibility study is not even completed yet.
That's because the 10307, section 307,
But they set amount.
it was estimated, it's in the detail. It's all estimated at this point.
Could be more
When we
than
go out for bids, it's.
I wish I could buy a house and walk up to the bank and just tell them, I'm gonna need somewhere about here. And you never know when a dam might come into my future, or a tree, or, huh?
I have an appraisal. But
I don't have an appraisal problem.
I'm not saying you per se.
Yeah. I had to pay for an appraisal, and I lost a lot of money when that lake disappeared. And this is the mentality. You're in the finance department. You know finances. I cannot fathom how someone can tell me that I'm gonna benefit $80,000 by paying $80,000. That's insanity. If I give you an apple and I take that apple back, you get no apple. You don't give me $80,000 and then take $80,000 back. You're taking $80,000 ahead of time and expecting me to pay interest on it. That 40 years, that's not free. If you pay it up front, then there's no interest on it. But the lien, you're gonna stick me with an interest that I didn't sign my name to it.
You're part of the SAD.
No, I'm not. I never voted for it.
We're all set. Anyhow, I want to finish up Wednesday, 428, instrumentation on the lake streams and tributaries. Wednesday, 5/5, environmental and regulatory considerations. There's a lot in that. Thursday, 5/13, financial modeling with survey results. We're doing the financial modeling right now. I know they're working on it today because we're trying to get to the point where it's going to be feasible for people. And unfortunately, it's still high, but we're still working on the grants and donations.
Well, what about a village? Why are we, and again, this is the thing, right? Who's working on a village?
I'll tell you about that. It's an at-large village. It's going to be brought up, I believe, on the 25th meeting of the commissioners. Because we think that the total county should pay something into it to reduce the cost to the property owners. Right.
How come that wasn't done before the SAD was made? How come we're running around trying to make this puzzle fit? It's like we made this plan and now we're just gonna make it fit. Now we're gonna do this. That's a great idea. So why don't we dissolve the SAD, go out and get the millage and start all over again and do it right this time. And do it right this time.
Yeah, it never would have got off the ground if it wasn't for lakes.
Well, we had lakes before Four Lakes Task Force got involved. We had lakes. And we had mussels before the EGLE got involved. You can blow me off. That's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact. We had lakes before Four Lakes Task Force said that they were going to come in and save our lakes. They were the same group that told Voice Hydro, that told all of us sitting in this room at one time or another, don't give that man any money. Don't give him a special assessment district to keep your lakes to make the repairs that need to be done. That's stealing from you. These same men that said that are now the ones that are trying to put me into a debt that I didn't sign up for, and you're one of them. You sit on the committees.
So I'm going to end up paying a special assessment too.
I don't care. I know you can make your own bad decisions, but your decisions can't affect me. I don't do things that affect you. So how do you think you have the authority to affect things that affect me financially?
Well, if you want to go into the legal dispute.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's go to the county.
Okay, let's go to the county.
Okay, you voted for more?
No, I didn't vote for it because I don't live in Gladwin County. I just pay higher taxes because I don't live in Gladwin County.
You voted or somebody voted for a commissioner, perhaps.
Perhaps. If the election wasn't stolen. We'll never know that either.
Well, I don't. But with that vote, is you gave the authority to these people to make decisions for you under the law.
Under laws, exactly. And I have stated laws that have been broken.
They don't want you on public property. They have all the rights to do rules and regulations to cover that property.
But why does Four Lakes Task Force have the right to put their name on public property if they're not the owner? I can't put my name on somebody else's mailbox.
They got the authority from the county commissioners. Can they do it? Sure they can.
Well, they seem to be able to do whatever they want.
Under the law.
No, I can name at least 3 laws that they broke.
Well, good.
Well, good. I know. I'll take it up with my attorney. I get it.
You're absolutely true.
And that's why Dow, I'll call him Dow, Four Lakes Task Force has a monstrosity amount of money that they paid for legal fees, and that was before the dams failed. So you can't say it's because they were going after the dams for bankruptcy.
I tell you, it's a complicated issue. Yeah.
Well, when you're paying representatives like Molinar and Stamas and all that big donation money, yeah, it probably is a lot of money going out. It's all public record. You can see who all the donators are. And I want to ask you this now that we're sitting here in this room. How did Senator Outman decide to raise the special assessment district? So when Judge Kiris ruled on it in May of 2019, he ruled on a 20-year special assessment district. At the time, the law only allowed for a 10-year special assessment district. He's a judge. He used to be a lawyer. So he's very aware of the law. And you guys are too. So what you did was you got the representatives to go into the state legislature and change it.
Went to 40 years.
You made that puzzle fit, but he illegally settled it in 2019, and that's why it should be dissolved, because he didn't even have the wherewithal or the legal means to vote on it and decide and rule on a 20-year. So then you guys all just went around behind our backs during a COVID crisis when I couldn't go get a haircut, couldn't go see my grandkids, couldn't go to my best friend's funeral, but you all got in there and got the legislature to change so that you could stick us with a 40-year assessment. That's because Chris Ringo, I'll say her name, was winning up there on Secor Lake. She was getting voice. They were going to work together, and you guys got scared. You didn't like that at Four Lakes Task Force because that was setting a bad precedent. Oh my God, those other people, because Lee Mueller got a hold of me. I got an email from Lee Mueller. He's like, get $1 million. Gets people around there. I said, Lee, they ain't going to trust you right now because they badmouthed you just like they badmouthed me. So even if he was doing things that weren't right, I know I'm not, but I know how you guys treat me. So I can only imagine how he was getting treated. Whew. Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all.
Did you read Chris's last letter?
Oh, I got to listen to my commissioner sit and read a letter that Chris Ringo wrote calling me a conspiracist.
Oh, yeah.
I got to sit out in the parking lot. So you think that's funny? I was pissed. That is an absolute waste of our taxpayer dollars for my commission to sit there and read a piece of crap like that. But I'm stuck out in the parking lot and my good neighbors and friends are getting kicked out so that she can read this letter. She's biased. She is biased and she discriminates.
That's my update for
Mark, just one thing, would it be possible that you just carry a message to them that I'd like to attend more of the meetings than what they're doing, because really I think it's just what we're getting doled out, little bits and pieces of information. They're working as a public entity. I'd like to know what they're doing. You know?
On the 13th, they got an online meeting.
But see, the thing is that when you go to their online meetings, you don't get to raise your hand and ask a question. My questions come through emails, or better yet, I've asked questions at county commission meetings and been told flat out, Kelly, we're not going to answer your question. To have them bring it up though in a webinar with Four Lakes Task Force, where I'm sitting right there watching it with my hand raised, and they don't pick me. Oh, I can't ask my own question because, you know, I'm not adult enough.
Let me say something. We have meetings. I've been on this board for a long time, and in order for us to get anything accomplished, I don't know what happens at these other meetings, at the Four Lakes Task Force meetings, but you can't have public people talking for so long. You have to have a crystal clear question. Here's my question. Then wait for an answer. Let the next person go. We can't go on and on and on. You can't get nothing done.
I appreciate that.
No, we can't get nothing.
the Commissioner for Representative Smaller Lake Representative Supervisor Mudge. Is there a question there?
That was great to hear your report.
Oh, okay. Declare an emergency or disaster as far as that. On the new business, we're going into the garbage assessment field for 2014, 2019.
Yes.
And you're going to handle that. Okay.
Yes, so a couple months back, we ended up refunding the garbage assessment to one of our parcel owners. And because it was the second lot that was putting anything on it. And he is looking to get refunds back to 2014. I talked with the Mudge and Township Association on this, And what they're basically telling me is that, he is able to, get the current year, so he did do 2020, refunded it for 2020. And then there is no statutory authority that allows us to go back and do back years. So the only way he could do something like this is to appeal it to the board. So he has written this letter, which you have a copy of. And so he is looking at, he would like to have his assessment refunded from 2014 through 2019. And it would end up totaling, as he says, $618. And I'll give you my concern, and then you can, talk about it and see what you want to do, because the only way this could be happened is if the board approves it. We, in our garbage fund, have been short. We had to raise it this year. We don't have the money in the garbage fund to refund this money. So that's my point, first point. And the second one is that, when you get your tax bill each year, the first thing you should do is look at your tax bill. If there's an assessment on there that you don't agree with, then it's a duplicate assessment. You should immediately call and get that taken care of. So I'm asking the board, do you want to make a special exception and appeal this? I mean, and let his appeal go through and refund the $618.
We ask the assessor if she's ever seen this before.
I haven't, and I totally agree with that. He had opportunity every year. He got a December tax bill to see that was on there, and to make a phone call to say, hey, why is this on here? And so that was the opportunity. It's kind of like going to March 4 review. That's your one opportunity, but this is something a little different. It has to come to you guys, not to board review, but he had that opportunity. And you have already paid the garbage company for these years, right? You've already paid for that account. So I think that giving him the 2020 was generous.
I got a question. Could you offset, since he has two properties, and not charge him for garbage for his property he's living on now to help recover the cost without paying money out of your pocket? Would that be financially feasible?
We still would be short. On a special assessment, basically, on a garbage special assessment, you're just trying to recoup the amount of that fee from the garbage company. You don't really have big cash flow left after the season. You're kind of done until you start collecting taxes again. So even taking that away, then that would start to not be able to pay.
Yeah, I get how it's the responsibility of the owner, but really it's the responsibility of the person that makes the tax bill too, to make sure they get the tax bill right. So that's why I'm just saying, to be fair.
Well, this tax bill goes back, it goes back to 14, just because, my assessor's sitting here. She wasn't even the assessor then, so.
Well, I'm not putting blame on anybody. I'm just, accidents happen. We're all human.
To her point, though, it's the responsibility of the person. So, what do we need to do? Need a motion or something?
Yeah, well, what I would like to do then, if you're in agreement that we are not going to pay this, is then, yes, to do a motion, a resolution, is that what it is? Yeah. So that going forward, we actually have a resolution on file. So that is the township.
Can I ask a question of clarification? This person wants to get money back because it was
A second
like
lot.
piece of property or something that he wasn't living on?
He actually has two parcels, and so his main parcel with the building on it, his home on it, or cottage, or whatever it might be,
Right.
that it does get the garbage fee.
Okay.
And then he had a second parcel that was also assigned a garbage fee,
Yeah.
and it does have a building on it. And so in our township, we only.
I can't, when that works, that's gonna open up because, in my association alone, there's probably 3 or 4 properties that have nothing on it, but they're getting charged for the assessment for garbage.
If they have a second property, they only get charged once. So if you have more than one property, you're not gonna get charged more than once. If they have just a vacant lot, and it's all they have, and even if there's not a building on it, they still gotta pay the assessment. No?
No, this is a dwelling.
Not in this township.
Okay,
You
wow.
have to have a dwelling. Some townships do it that way.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
I'm gonna check it. Well, never mind, because they're probably not gonna pay me anyway.
Is it dwelling and trailer?
Yes.
It can be a camper.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna do a resolution to settle that.
What's the resolution?
The resolution, Hays Township garbage assessment fee refund, be it resolved that Hays Township has chosen to refund garbage assessment fees that were charged in year on parcels not to exceed the current year. I would like to make a motion.
I'll second it.
There's,
You want to do a roll call?
We gotta do a roll call.
there you're ready. Monahan, yes. Becker,
Yes.
Clute,
Yes.
Creamer,
Yes.
Mudge.
Yes.
Does that need a clarification on what year, like
Just
fiscal
the
year or
adjustment.
taxation year or?
Just one part here.
If I,
happened in
whatever
the
you
year.
bring it up.
Type of your fiscal year, calendar year,
Tax year?
tax year. That's what.
All in favor?
All right.
Well, you can already do that. Roll call. All right, we're good on that. Removal of uncollected personal property tax.
I got that one too. So we have a business, you guys have a document in front of you, hopefully, that has not paid their personal property taxes, just different than real estate taxes, since 2016. He has, and this is, I have it, it's not like this is something new, it goes back and forth from that. He, according to state law, if he files out a form each year because he has $80,000 or less in personal property, he would not have to pay this. But unfortunately, he decides that he doesn't have to fill out this form and send it back to the assessor. So since he doesn't fill out this form and send it back to the assessor, which he wouldn't have to pay his taxes, then it's put on the tax bill, and so I'm obligated to collect it. So he has now basically gone out of business. For 2021 tax year, he's going to, the assessor has taken this personal property tax out of the system. We won't be having it any longer. And in addition, in 2019, he was operating out of West Branch, so he wasn't in the Hays Township jurisdiction at that time. And then in 2020, he definitely took down the business sign, so there's no evidence that he is doing any business in this township. So I do review that these taxes are uncollectible. I have a long history of having meetings with them, phone calls, sending letters, notifications, certified letters. And so I talked to the county, and what they said, since he's gone out of business, that if I could make the motion at the board approves it, to say that that you guys agree that this tax is uncollectible, then the county will take it to the circuit court, to petition the circuit court to have these years removed from the tax roll.
I think you should try.
That's not what you want to hear.
I'll make a motion to remove the uncollectible DPT for years 2016 to 2020 tax rolls of the water.
I have a question on this. We don't have the authority to write off the tax. The authority is the tax commission, tax director, or the circuit court.
Yeah, that's the circuit court that the
Right.
county's going to take over.
So, the motion should be to forward to the county treasurer a request to include in the petition the low account for the appropriate year as uncollectible.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and then when you get the order, then you can write off.
I won't ever see the order once this happens.
You should receive a copy of the petition. And a copy of the
I've
order.
done these, and I will not see the petition or the order after it's turned over to them. It goes through, the county handles it after that.
I know they handle it, but they still, through those requirements, are required to send you notice.
Well, can certainly talk to the county and see if they want to do that, but they have not in the past, I can tell you that.
Okay.
So,
I'll say.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Motion
Yeah, I guess, we got public comments again. Anybody wants to speak? Go ahead.
Heil Road,
Yes.
between Three Rivers and Cardinal. They, removed a dam there. And they removed the road too. When they took that out, Tom, back then, said, be back for the tube in a year. 5, 6 years ago. But anyway, are we ever gonna get that road back? Just put a tube in, it's a ditch. It's just got a little stream going through there. It used to be backed up and they called it Black Creek.
Yeah.
And there's 19 properties in there, they were being charged waterfront or whatever, but that all went away. They tore the dam out. Scuttlebutt has it that Gladwin got $30,000 to take that thing out and leave it out. But that cuts our road, one of our accesses to get back over to 61.
Well, actually, that's just come to my attention that, the DEQ legal has approved to do some work in that area. They're gonna be putting in like a bridge and, road.
Right across.
Bridge, there's gonna be a bridge.
A lot of times they do those.
It's just a little tiny, it comes from the backwaters on the other side of 61. And they intentionally backed it up one time and they had a culvert with a snorkel for the left. And that snorkel was getting plugged up sometimes and it started washing that road out. Well, then they cemented it, they put all kinds of cement in there, cleaned it up. Then what happened is it got up so high because some of the homeowners there, they wanted a little more water back there. And it's just a ditch with a lot of stumps and whatever. But anyway, they got more water on it. What happened was it got saturated and started shifting. Okay. So DEQ or somebody, they come in, they looked at it. What they did was go down by the water, by the river, which we get spring floods. And they said, well, the river comes up about that high, so you can't put a culvert in there. You have to put a bridge in it. That's crazy. I mean, that thing right now, there's like 5 years and it's this little creek.
If you'd like to wait until after the meeting, I can show you the paperwork that came through.
Well, I was just wondering if anybody was looking into doing something there.
I was surprised when it came through and I went, oh darn, you're actually gonna do something for that.
Wow. Good.
I thought it was a dead issue.
Yeah, except for the people who can drive all the way around on Three Rivers instead of going up Cardinal. Okay.
Has there ever been or consideration for like kind of local recycling? Because I know a lot of places they put the containers like at the township hall. I don't know how much that costs or if you can actually recover the funds for that or whatever.
Actually, they tried that at other townships and people dumped their garbage in them and around it and it became a problem that, as far as I know, Gladwin and other townships got rid of it. There was a lady, and I got her name out there on the bulletin board, that if anybody's interested in recycling, to get a hold of her. She's been trying to get it restarted.
I always ask for recycling, like we redo our garbage and stuff. This last year,
It was astronomical.
yeah, it was expensive, and then we didn't want to get responsible for one person.
I think Waste Management has a recycling process which they sort, and they got sort metals, they sort paper.
They're the ones that we have.
Yeah.
Right, and they're very expensive.
Submitted a cost for recycling.
We had a whole hall full of people one time, and I was always for it. I said, hey, let's see how many people are for recycling. Throw your hand up. My hand was
I know that feeling.
My wife won't even do it. She's like, I ain't going to go in the yard.
Well, I knew it wouldn't be a second truck, but I thought maybe a centralized depot might work.
Yeah, Midland's probably the closest one.
But I think there'd be even a cost savings to you to have like a larger bed for larger items, because I think a lot of the cost for waste management is handling the larger items that people throw out, right?
It's separating the paper and the plastic and all of that.
People that have this, like my daughter has it, they don't have to sort it.
No, we don't.
They put everything in cardboard, glass, whatever,
Yep.
but there's certain,
Right.
put some junk in there.
I'm in Midland and we have
Yeah, she's.
2 garbage cans, one's for garbage, one's for recycle.
They're gonna recycle, they love it, they have
Yep.
very low garbage.
Yep.
We can't get it to go here.
At one point, the Gladwin, Midland Recycling was going to try and get that one that used to have Gladwin back up and running, but, I think the grants kind of dried up on them and they couldn't really get over.
I can believe that because we've been talking to Debbie Stabenow's office, and literally what we're being told is the government's broke.
Oh, I'm sure.
So I know, but here's my representative telling me that, and then telling me, well, let's hope we can get you guys more money so you don't have to pay that big special assessment district. And basically, I'm hearing you're going to be paying a ton because there's no money.
Well, let's have a special assessment for garbage.
Pretty soon they're going to have a special assessment to breathe air.
Whatever happened to the fire report?
It's ready.
I haven't seen or heard from him in like 6 months.
Yeah.
Big burn season now.
I was kind of hoping to hear what happened just south of Steve there.
911 is offline. Don't have a fire. Anything else?
I'll make the motion.
I never noticed it. I thought that. Yeah. His garage burned down. Yeah, a little while ago, his house burned down. They're checking them out. I just got here the other day.
Check us out, folks.
I don't know if they'll remember.
There's a lot of information in there that your attorney might want to see.
I'm selling for that guy. I'm selling.
That information that I gave you.
No, no.
Or I want a sticker, you know, I'll say.
And then we have
Actually, it's, my last name is here.